fly rule is called. Gunnar Henderson.
I believe they're calling the game over.
Wait a minute.
Runner at second. Interfered.
By the way, he called it before Gunnar Henderson even caught the ball.
That is one of the worst calls I have ever seen.
This is a horrible ending to this
We've
game.
seen some bad calls this season.
Hi everyone, Lindsay. Let's clear up some misconceptions about infield fly rule interference and potentially some ideas on how we could fix this for next time. To recap, umpires called interference during an infield fly. That results in a double play by rule. With one out in the ninth, that ended Chicago's hopeful comeback against Baltimore. After the game, a reporter stated that the league reportedly reached out to Chicago and stated, quote, "The obstruction call to end the game should not have been made."
Second for obstructing Henderson at short.
As stated in the prior video, this is interference, not obstruction, so the likelihood the league said obstruction shouldn't have been called is pretty much zero because obstruction was not called. Instead, it appears that this happened.
That Michael Hill, Vice President of On-Field Operations over at the league office, was on the phone with the White Sox today. And for all practical purposes, he told them this call should not have been made. There should be a little discretion involved. Yeah, it is true. Unintentional contact is still interference.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean it has to automatically be called.
Here are two issues with that. Number one, remember the definition of interference calls this a dead ball. You call it immediately, it is a dead ball as soon as it occurs. There is no such thing as waiting to see what happens afterward if the ball's going to be caught or not. You have to call it as soon as that interaction between players, contact, whatever occurs. And everything that occurs before then and at that moment, that's all you have to go by. Valentine calls it as soon as it occurs, and that's why you don't have an allowance to see what happens afterward, because the rule does not allow it. The second reason, of course, I mentioned the other day, and he's going to be called on it by third base umpire Junior Valentine, who is known to call things.
He called a balk on Stanek, and Stanek is arguing.
Stanek finished the inning and got ejected by Valentine.
I said this before, I'll say it again. I don't like how this call fits the game, but I can't find anything in the rulebook whatsoever that says the call is incorrect. In 2012, they put this specific rule into the game because of a play in LA, remarkably similar to this one with one distinct difference.
Popped up. Let's see, Lee can't get it. The runner's in his way. Forget the play. Forget the play. And the out immediately called by Todd Tishner. I would assume that play is dead because of the play at first base.
Anyone else miss Vince Scully? He knows the rule even though it's technically not in the book yet because this is 2012. He says,
So immediately Ethier's called out. See the push?
And that's the point I'm trying to make here. Play is dead immediately upon that, and you...
Forget the play. Forget the play.
Now, the part we can talk about. I say this is similar but different because in LA, Miami dropped the ball. In Chicago, the ball was caught, but because it's dead at the moment of interference, none of that matters. And because of the rule they put in 2012 as a result of the LA play for infield flies, this is a double play. It's correct by rule. Now, the part that is sour in everyone's mouth is this is a double play to end the game. And I agree with that. I don't like the look at all, but it's rules correct.
Infield fly rule, and then they called Andrew Vaughn out at second for obstructing Henderson at short.
Given all of that, MLB didn't like how the game ended, and they see the ramifications of that rules change hastily made in 2012. And they issue that this call didn't have to be made memo, which is true about every play, really. But even with that call, we can fix it. Let's talk rules change.
So immediately Ethier's called out. See the push? Meanwhile, the catcher drops.
Remember the point about right of way? The fielder has right of way on a batted ball, runner has it at any other time. This isn't just an interpretation of a rule, this is the rule, which means that you are obliged to give the fielder benefit of the doubt and call that interference. But what if the right of way said, no, the fielder doesn't have the right of way here?
Interfere.
That means this inadvertent, unintentional contact by the runner would not be interference. And the only result of the play is the fielder catching the ball, and it was infield fly anyway, so the batter's out, 2 outs, runners on first and second. That could solve it. And specifically, I'm not talking about getting rid of the batted ball right-of-way rule. Fielder should have the right-of-way on a batted ball. But this is a special circumstance, the infield fly. The batter hit a batted ball, yes, but is already out because that is an infield fly. So what if we just say that this is no longer fielding a batted ball, as it is on all other right-of-way plays, but this is one of those at any other time circumstances because the batter is already out on the infield fly call.
So here's the interference. We saw Tishner do it right away.
Valentine was all over it, and he called it right away. He called it before Gunnar Henderson even.
Proposal number 2. The rule wants a call right of way? Let's change it to the way that we officiate obstruction type 2 or B instead of obstruction 1, where we wait. We point at the infraction, but we wait for the ball to become dead of its own volition, and then we take steps to nullify the act. That allows us to see whether that ball is going to be caught or dropped before making a decision. Proposal number 3 is to make every infield fly a dead ball at the moment of that call. I don't recommend it because it would solve this case, but it would lead to a whole bunch of other problems in other plays. Proposal number 4 would be something MLB probably is not going to do, which is repeal the 2012 rule. They'd have to admit they were wrong. And then proposal number 5, which really relates to the prior proposals as well, is to treat it based on intentionality. If the interference is intentional, then you go ahead and call an immediate dead ball and get a double play. This is similar to the book's already existent rules on intentional or willful and deliberate interference. And if the interference was not intentional, then you just simply let play go, and it's your discretion if you want to treat it as proposal number 2, a delayed dead ball, so to speak, or just ignore it entirely.
Back to the fielder. Come on.
And then proposal 6 is the do nothing alternative. Which of these proposals do you like best, or do you have your own suggestion? Let us know. Because under the current rule set, even though this doesn't look right and it leaves a sour taste, this is the rule's correct call, unless you change a rule or an interpretation of an existing rule. That's why we have these alternatives. Maybe one of them can get you there. Visit us online at closecallsports.com. Like and subscribe. We have channel memberships, Patreon, Buy Me and Coffee, Discord, and all the rest. And we'll see you on the site.